Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 209, Receiving. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host. I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft, and welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to a brand new week. Welcome to the first, I think the first day of summer, right? On the 20th, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Or somewhere around there. Well, welcome to the first day of summer, and it's finally here. And yeah, just so happy. And I hope that you had a great weekend, and I know that we are going to have an amazing summer.
I know. Well, you haven't talked about the weather in a couple shows, Dave. And I'm going to tell you something. Being up in the mountains recently was so different weather-wise. It was really, really funny. The air is so clear, and thinner and
not humid.
And not humid. I mean, I got back home to Florida, and it was quite a drive, And I'll tell you, the heat really, it knocked it out of me this time. I'm not usually that impacted, but this summer, it just seemed brutal so far.
Yeah, we talked about hot springs last episode, and I had the Wikipedia link in there and everything, and looking at their average, like the average high, even during the hottest part of the summer, the average high is like 85, 86 degrees. So it doesn't really get really hot up there in the mountains, and the springs are gorgeous, and yeah.
Oh, and that French Broad River. Oh, wow. And then there's all those hikes to Lover's Leap. And I should say, I think you said there's 583 people in the town.
530.
Or 530. At least 300 are my cousins. The hardware store's owned by my cousin.
Oh, man, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's
good.
Mountains
That's good stuff.
Mountains in North Carolina are something really special. The Appalachian Mountains are amazing.
Yeah, they really are. Several of my family members have hiked long sections. I've hiked small sections of the Appalachian Trail. And we did go up to Max Patch, and we scattered my mother's ashes there. That was her wish. And it's so beautiful. It is a peak, and you can see, I think 3 mountain ranges from the top there. And gosh, really, really beautiful, beautiful setting.
Does the Blue Ridge Parkway run up near Hot Springs?
I'm not sure if it goes that far. I'm trying to remember the name of the road. It's such a windy road up there. It's just a little over 4,000 feet, so It's not. It's not like a mountain in, say,
Yeah,
Washington,
I know the Blue Ridge Parkway kind of goes up next to the Appalachian Trail for a while, and then it kind of veers off, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the highway is up there, but they call it Rattlesnake Road because it's just...
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's why bikers love it so much up there, too. But anyway, that was... If you've never been up there, I would highly, highly suggest going. As I said last show, it's like going... If you stay at Sunnybank Inn, it's like going back 100 years. And they do have in the town these mineral baths. You can still do hot springs. It's been many derivations. When I was a kid, it was quite different than it is now. But it's a good thing, and a lot of good people. Usually they have a few people out selling, soaps and honey and, stuff like that on the weekends. There's usually a little
farmer's market.
It's like 3 or 4 little stands. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to walk through town, so you might get bored. But I loved the idea of being bored.
Yeah.
And in truth, for me, this time there was a time of receiving, and that is our topic today.
That's right. Yep. The episode title for today, just like last week was giving, this week is receiving.
Receiving, yes.
Just receive.
Just receive. Yeah, we're keeping it simple because, the truth is the spiritual journey is very simple. Life is meant to be lived simply, I believe. I think we've complicated it. I think we've over-therapized it. I think we've over-analyzed it. even though I'm all about living a conscious life, I think therapeutic work is good and healthy. But I think sometimes we've forgotten the basic practices, the basic things that keep us connected to God and keep us in alignment with the good the universe has. And of course, on this show, we are always seeking to live a conscious life. One of my teachers, Sharon Poindexter, called it conscious consciousness. So this is a good activity for us to be thinking about, because I talk about giving so much. And in my life, my tendency has been to overgive. And I wanted to do a whole show on receiving, because many of our listeners are big doers and big givers. And in general, there's two kinds of people. There's givers to life and there's takers. And what I've noticed and become aware of is that so many people listen to this show are big givers to life, and we don't always receive well. Right? So today we want to talk about receiving. Receiving. I love just leaving that space there for you to take in that word. Part of the issue with receiving is there's nothing to do. You know, you get to just receive. You know, over the course of my ministry, I've learned a lot of great things. And one of the things that I've learned is to receive good words. What I also have learned is no matter what anybody says, to not completely take it on either. I receive that. I will say, thank you so much. I receive that. But I've learned to receive gifts better. I've learned to receive the gift of friendship better. I've learned to receive people as they are. So receiving includes money, but includes other aspects of life as well. What I've noticed, because I love to give so much, is that if I don't give it to a good receiver, that giving doesn't feel as good. I don't know if you've ever had that day where you try to give somebody something, they kind of slough it off.
Yeah,
it's like,
you're like, oh,
that was a bummer.
Yeah.
That was a bummer.
Didn't give me the good feels that I really wanted when I gave it to you.
The good feels I wanted. So sometimes, like, receiving is just about acknowledging, thanking, being present to, whatever is showing up, right? And I think there is an art to being a good receiver. I'll say it that way. So has somebody tried to give you something lately and you did not receive it well? Or did you receive it well? Even like a compliment from a coworker, like, oh, you look nice today. Oh, this old thing, rather than just a simple thank you. Now, oftentimes we don't receive well because we don't feel like we're worthy to receive good. You see how all of these things, all of these spiritual principles are really something that need to be at least looked at somewhat and worked somewhat on the emotional level, because they're both emotional and spiritual. So I just finished up a 3-week series at Unity North Tampa recently, where we were doing creating healthy relationships. And in that series, it was like, are you doing therapy here or ministry? And I said, yes.
Yes, to all.
Yes, all of the above. I said, because you're not just spiritual. You're not just a body. You're not just an emotional being. The truth is, you're a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual laws, but the emotional work has got to be done. Your spiritual work will only take you so far. If you're praying every day, but you're not learning to give, you're not learning to receive, you're not learning to be kind, you're not learning to look at your emotional reactions, prayer is not going to be enough. Yeah, prayer is not going to be enough. And so that's why we keep talking about these spiritual issues, but we're including the emotional nature in that. So if you're not receiving much, it may be that you're not a good receiver. I'll just tell you the truth right now. You're not a good receiver. Like I say, I have not always been a good receiver. So it's a lesson to just say, thank you. Thank you. And to be present to whatever the gift is that might be showing up. And like we talked about on the last show with our giving, there may be something underlying why you don't want to receive. I've worked with several people who are so competent in their work. They are, CEOs, they're managers, owners, and they've really gotten far by their productivity, by their intellect. They make wonderful incomes. And it's almost like they view receiving as something weak. That if they're not doing it, if they're not giving, there's so that they can't receive it without somehow saying they know about it or they have one or they. So this is all based in the ego, obviously, but you understand what I'm saying, that there are times somebody's trying to give us something and we're so in our heads or so caught in ourselves and our egos that we can't just receive. We've got to say, oh yeah, I don't need that, or I know that, or right. So think about that. Are you one of those people that's so much of a giver you can't receive a gift or a compliment without proving you know it already, or you have one better? It's really a tough situation at times to be caught in, especially if you're the giver and you're trying to give and somebody doesn't receive it well. It's like, I was just trying to give you this. Yeah. So think about that. Are you a good receiver? That show a few weeks ago when I said, I'd love to get some positive feedback. That was really important for me to do because I give so much. I don't always set myself up to receive like that. And that was a real gift to me that I was able to ask for it. And then I did receive it. That's why I wanted to make sure and acknowledge the receipt of those emails and text messages. And like I say, one person saying, well, you know what? Not only am I so grateful for you, I'm going to start giving again. I can't believe I let that go. So I said, oh, I thank you. I received that with great gratitude. And it wasn't all about the money. I said, it's just been a while since I'd heard from some of our people. And she said, you are right. And I'm so, so grateful. She said, I hear you in my head all the time. So it helped me to receive that. And it helped her to be able to give. And she said, it helps me just to say, all the ways you support me. So from various people. Yeah, it wasn't all one person, but from various people. It was really, really sweet. And I was able to receive that, which of course was a gift to me. I love when somebody I care about or love gives me a gift that I know they've thought about. I know that they've, right? And I can just receive that with so much gratitude. Yes, that is nice to be able to do. Sometimes we're very guarded and we can't receive a hug or a gesture of kindness because we're too guarded in our emotional nature. We're like overprotected. We're armored in a way that's unhealthy. So receiving is on many levels. It includes the finances, most definitely, but it is also emotional. It is physical. It is even a psychological process as well.
Yeah, I can have trouble sometimes receiving help. or if, like, I think I've talked about this on the show before, if we have a kind of an arrangement in our house that whoever cooks doesn't clean. Right. And so whenever I cook, and I've been doing a lot of cooking lately because I've been out grilling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And so when I'm done cooking and after dinner, I have a really hard time receiving letting someone else do all the dishes because I don't know. There's this weird kind of expectation. I don't know if it's guilt. I don't know if like, I'm not doing enough because I'm so used to just kind of pouring out that to just sit back and let like Shannon and Judy, let them take care of everything. And they're happy to do it.
Of course. I've seen them do it.
Yeah. To where they fuss at me if I try to like, what can I do to help? And so, and I'm sure we have some listeners who resonate with that as well, just receiving help. And part of that comes, I think, out of a sense of, got to be able to do it all your own, or you're just so used to pouring out.
You're so accustomed to just pouring out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's an aspect of growth that I know that I can work on.
Yeah, well, and this is why we're spending the time on it. These are subtle things. I mean, it's not like anybody's going to be a jerk, any of our listeners. Right. Somebody tries to give them something, they're not going to go, no, screw you. Right. And nobody's going to say something like that. But it's more about, the balance of both giving and receiving, because there is a vulnerability to receiving, right? Like you say, when you're the one pouring out, it honestly, if I'm being totally authentic on this, because this is true for me too, Dave. That's why I resonate with it. And I was saying so many of our listeners do. There's almost a one-upness about always being the one that gives. There's something vulnerable about receiving. Right? So it's like, yes, I can receive. I am worthy to receive. I enjoy the time, say, after cooking and grilling, just sitting back, go play a video game or, go listen to music and play a video game go compose something while they're doing it. You just kick back, with your full belly and go take your shower after smelling like smoke for, 3 hours, whatever it was.
Beard and everything, right?
Yeah, right, well, exactly.
And similarly, when I lost a bunch of my weight and everything, so many people would come up and say, oh, you look great. How'd you do it? And so receiving that, just because being, overweight, fat band nerd all my life, right?
Those days are over.
I wasn't used to that kind of recognition or affection or whatever, or just attention. And so it took a really long time. But what I realized, it was them saying, hey, you look great, wasn't, right? It wasn't, and you looked terrible before, right? It wasn't, it was more, more of an acknowledgement in their part of recognizing the work I had been doing,
Yeah, it was just more people saying, wow, I can tell exactly.
And so
I had more an acknowledgement, yes, of your commitment to it,
Yeah, so I had to get used to that, and and now I just say thanks. I'm a work in progress, and I'm still working hard on it, but I appreciate it. Just say thank you. It's not about you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because what I wanted to talk about next half a little bit is about what if what you're receiving you don't want to receive. So there's also that as well. So we'll be back right after this brief message to finish up this topic of receiving. Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. I'm pretty excited about the next half, because I don't think I've ever talked about receiving in this way. I grew up in the South. Everybody knows that. I grew up in Georgia. And in Georgia, if somebody gives you something, you're supposed to say, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. And that's the end of it. Yeah. Like if you went to someone's house, for instance, and I've noticed as I've aged and lived a variety of places, and traveled around the world, it's different in different places. But in the South, if somebody offers you food, the only answer is thank you and yes, ma'am. And I'd love it, And so here And in other places, I've noticed people don't always say yes. So I've lived a variety of places, and I went from living in, Georgia to Seattle. This was, leaving high school to go to college. I went as far away as possible. And, but living in Seattle, which actually was an incredible experience in my life, but it was a complete culture shock. I mean, so much so, I think for the first quarter, I wore black every day and I wrote backwards half the time. It was, I really had a difficult first quarter. That said, I learned different ways of relating, and I enjoyed learning a variety of things. And one of the things I learned was that when I went to people's homes and they offered me something to eat or drink, I didn't actually have to say yes. I was at a professor's home. He taught theater, and he was really crazy. I loved him. And he had he was really into plants too, and would always feed us a salad that had like little flower petals in it. He was all excited about that. Anyway, we were there one day and somebody said, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't want anything to eat. I just ate." And I was gobsmacked that anybody would say
you can do
to
that?
A professor of all things, especially one as crazy and kind and genuine as this guy, that somebody would actually say, "No, thank you." I was like, what? Like all these cultural bells went off, like, "You have lost your ever-loving mind." And he was like, so I was watching this, in a millisecond, I had that reaction. Nobody knew it. It was all internal. And so the guy just said, "Would you like a salad? I'm, putting my whatever in it today." Right. And the kid goes, "Oh, no, thank you. I've already eaten. I'm not hungry." And I noticed his reaction was, "Okay." And I thought, I never knew that could happen. It's just a weird, dumb thing. So, that said, in my emotional and spiritual journey, of creating a more healthy way of relating, both to myself and the world around me, I've learned sometimes I don't have to receive what's being offered. I don't have to receive everything everyone wants to give. Now, you can take that in a variety of ways, and I mean it in a variety of ways.
You could take the Ringo Starr approach, with a couple of years ago when he said, "All right, this is for now." This is my terrible Ringo Starr accent.
I love it.
I don't want anyone sending me any more letters. Just peace and love, but no more fan mail. I can't handle it anymore. And peace and love, peace and love. Just don't send me any more letters. He actually said that because he gets inundated and has for, 60 years.
Just like, for goodness sakes, I know you like it. Yeah.
Right. And so he had to come out and say, peace and love, please don't send me anything else. It will go straight into the rubbish or whatever, into the bin.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really okay. Also, considering the giver and their intention is your prerogative.
Yeah.
I spoke on the show, I don't know, it's been a couple months ago now. I think that it was really hard when I left ministry because when I was really creating my own business, and this is an online ministry certainly, but I'm the CEO of a charitable corporation now. It's not like I'm working out of my van. This is a thing. This is a thing. This is a thing, and we're around the world, and we're talking with all kinds of people who do a variety of things. This is a thing, and some of the decisions I had to make early on around money were really interesting and completely unexpected. That I had to make ethical decisions, around money and where the money was coming from and who was giving it, and it was a process because I thought, I'm starting this charitable organization. This is how I can make a living, is my donations. And there were 2 separate gifts that I declined. And, I was talking to a colleague, about it. And I said, I never, dreamed I would have this. He said, "Well, would Ford Motor Company turn down the money?" I said, well, probably not, but I'm not Ford Motor Company. I said, if somebody goes on and they do an anonymous donation, I'm going to be grateful for that all day long. But if there is some weird energy attached to the donation, if there is some expectation of me overlooking a behavior or an activity that I'm completely out of an alignment with, then no, I will not do that consciously. How could I say, let's live a conscious life and then not have that be in alignment with how I work with money in my organization? So that receiving or declining that was keeping me in alignment. I've never, I've been able to pay every bill always associated with the charitable corporation, including really expensive tax preparation. It seems like having a corporation is a good idea until tax time. And I'm one that doesn't mind paying taxes, but wow, the amount that goes to, say, tax preparation, nobody would have any idea, about that. But so it was a moral and ethical decision to not receive. And I said to myself, so I had to really pray on it. And I said to myself, am I being ungrateful? Like the universe is trying to bring me my good. Am I being ungrateful? And God said, it was like it came through in my meditation. I am your source, not these people. Mm. I am your source, not these people. Yes, money will come through through a variety of people, but you don't have to take money that you feel is not in integrity.
Yeah, before we came to Florida, I knew of some ministries who, receive some donations or just, in an effort to launch a big project, multi-million-dollar projects.
Yep.
Had to, I don't know, in my opinion, they had to make some compromises, I think, which really struck at the foundation of their integrity. And I understand, you get in over your head or whatever, or you have such lofty goals. And so the only way
it's a tough situation.
Yeah, the only way that you could get, multi-million-dollar projects off the ground is talking to and partnering with people with millions of dollars. And so sometimes, there are strings attached. Sometimes there are compromises. Sometimes there are quid pro quos. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your kind of situation. And and to this day, I think they're still feeling the reverberations.
Oh, always.
From those decisions. Yeah, and it's a really tough thing.
And it is. Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you're good.
You were just saying it's just really tough. Yeah. Well, that's what I started to say is I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror every day, and I want to be able to sleep at night, frankly. And if I took money like that, it's just who I am. I couldn't accept it. I would. It's like if that's how I have to make it, then I'd rather not. Yeah. I'd rather not. And what I know is that what I've been doing is working. So money has come from other sources. Money that is given with love, with grace, with just thank you. And I receive that with great, great gratitude. And people know because I thank them. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of receiving. But before we leave this topic of you get to say no, I want you to hear me say, just because somebody gives it doesn't mean you have to accept it. And what I know is that if there's a situation like Dave and I were discussing that's out of integrity, when you say no, absolutely good will come in another form, in another way. But we don't want to confuse the source of all good with a person, because God can use a variety of sources, to help and support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a part of receiving for me is an acknowledgement, a thank you. A yes, I've received, and thank you so much. And we love you. We bless you. That some kind of acknowledgement of the gift is pretty important. And so I think just consider, in your receiving, have you been in integrity with this aspect? Because what I know is every time we say thank you, every time we're in gratitude, it's both acknowledging the gift. It's also saying, I'm open to receive more. Yep. Not in a bad way. It just keeps us in the flow. Not like, oh, I'm going to say thank you because I'm going to get more. But when we say thank you, that is keeping us in the flow of good. And then you're going to give, and then you're going to receive. Right? So saying thank you is a wonderful part of receiving. You want to make sure that, when you are receiving, that it is really receiving. And the thank you is an acknowledgement. Not, oh, now I have to do something for you. Just thank you.
I thought of another example. That's okay.
What was it?
When I was, I guess I was seventh or eighth grade, and I was there. I had musical talent, and so I quickly, kind of rose through the ranks of other like 6th and 8th graders and middle schoolers. And so I remember after a concert, and I had played like Louie Louie or Wipeout on drum set, and I had a solo, and so, I remember like a bunch of parents came up and were just kind of just gushing on me. And I tried to play it off like, oh, no big deal, And then I remember telling my friend's mom, man, I wish they would just leave me alone and quit, telling me what a good job I did. And she was like, how dare you, But looking back, my little 8th grade brain didn't know how to process that. Didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to receive it. And so it came out super like kind of egotistical.
Kind of sideways,
but I just didn't know what to do with that. And I think I was a little embarrassed by the intention and all of that, which, and now that I think of it, I wonder if that's a common thread. Like, I wonder if that's the same kind of thread from before the break when I was talking about, getting recognized for having lost a bunch of weight and stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that would be a great inner process for you, Dave. Yeah. And, that's what all of this is. Again, we're trying to be conscious, listening to Dave and I, we by no means do life perfectly. There is no perfect. But what we're doing is learning from our reactions. And that's what we're all seeking to do is learn from our reactions, learn from, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that thing I did there, that's the same. Well, and speaking of that, for some reason, it reminds me of the last aspect I was going to get to, which is if you don't like what you're receiving, you might want to check your giving. Right. So, and what I mean by that is if you feel like you're never given anything, well, how are you giving? So, the scriptures say, as you give, so too shall you receive. Right. And I've noticed that the more caring I am in my giving, the more caring people are as they give to me. Right. So it's just how it works. That however we're giving is probably how we're going to receive. Why? Well, because that's the law. That's the law. That's what's been put in since the beginning of time, that whatever you give is what you get back. So again, it circles back to, are we in the flow of God's good for us? Are we in the flow? And so what I notice in our culture, what we always want to do is look for who to blame. Right now, who can we pick it right now? Right? Who can we resist? But the truth is, that's a little bit of an infantile way of approaching problems or approaching issues. And so what we're seeking to do is approach issues from a higher consciousness. And that consciousness is personal awareness. It is taking 100% responsibility for our lives and what's happening in our lives. So I want to just encourage you to think about, wow, if I'm not receiving, I wonder if my giving needs a little work. So see, the giving and receiving are definitely intimately connected. Intimately connected. So there's no wrong. There's just awareness. There's just awareness around. So, I'm in a different place today than I was even a year ago around my giving and receiving. In my time with family recently that I mentioned, even though I had done forgiveness work on this particular family member, I had journaled, I had prayed for, I was still holding on to a behavior in some way that they had done years ago, before they were in recovery and everything. And I just finally got to the point that I was really willing to love at a bigger level. And what I received back in terms of what I gave out in terms of forgiveness and what I got back was just tremendous. A connection I hadn't had in probably at least 15 years, maybe close to 20. And it's been such a gift. I've talked to that family member or connected with that family member nearly every day since that trip. And that was completely unexpected. So my ego, even though my ego was kind of dreading some of the communications that I might have to have, my soul was ready to forgive. And I went into the weekend saying, God, please guide me. And boy, did I get that. And I received forgiveness too. Just, beautiful, 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 beautiful time. Beautiful. And thank goodness he could receive my forgiveness and I could receive his. Amazing. Amazing. Never would have thought it with the conscious mind. So see, friends, what we're talking about, these are healing principles. So we think of these things, giving and receiving, around money. Yes, it includes money, but it includes the emotional nature. It includes the spiritual nature. And just you being a little more aware of giving and receiving, it's going to help you in all of your relationships. Because all relationships have certain aspects that are, there's a symbiotic relationship, you're right, in every situation. Not everything is transactional, but it is symbiotic. It is symbiotic. And the healthier you get, the more your relationships will grow and mature and be full of love and forgiveness and all the things that we all seek. So we're happy you've joined us for, the Prosperity Series. There's been 3 weeks so far. We have one more week of that next week. And then we're going to bring on a really cool guest that we interviewed as well. So we've got a lot of great shows coming up. If you haven't shared lately, with your friends, family, loved ones about the show, I would invite you to. I would also ask you to subscribe on our YouTube page. I kind of got stuck at about 379 subscribers. I really want to get over 400, I'll tell you, and moving towards that magic 1,000 number. So thanks for joining us today, dear friends. As always, we're blessed and honored to be with you, and we always lift you up in prayer for God's highest and best. So blessings on the journey, dear friends.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.